So it all started when I was at Syracuse University. So I was a researcher there, and there was a department that no longer exists that was chiefly interested, well, initially in high-performance computing, but this has quickly changed to interest in the internet issue. It was in the 90s, right, 94, 95. So essentially, ENBAC was a think tank where we have been looking for non-trivial applications of the internet technology, and some of them we implemented. I guess the critical factor was obviously to find funding for those ideas, right? So we have been doing the standard academic process, writing proposals, asking for funding, mostly to the government institution, and I guess our main problem was that the ideas we are coming up with were alien, right? I mean, something that is obvious today in 95 sounded like a pipe dream, and nobody wanted to believe that this may happen, and yet everything that we started in 95 actually came to be today, right? 20 years, let's say 12 years later. Implemented a whole bunch of technologies that later on became mainstream. I mean, we had the first working search engine, on the internet, actually based on high performance computing technology from IBM. Then we had video on demand in 95, where nobody knew what it is, and right now, of course, you have them in the Time Warner. Now we had also a number of applications that were critical or of interest to military, and this was mostly so-called distributed command and control. This is something that military always wanted to have, and they don't have it until today, although they are moving in this direction. And for that purpose, we got some DARPA grants. We convinced those people that our ideas are not so far-fetched, and we developed a technology to collaborate in real time over the internet. And essentially, this is something I'm pursuing today. Those other inventions and devices, they never made it, so to say. So we have been treated a little bit like a band of crazies somewhere, sitting somewhere in the isolated building and coming up with ideas that everybody thought are just unrealistic, right? And they don't really make any sense, and nobody has seen the potential for this. So many of those developments, even if they have been funded, they basically sort of withered. We absolutely don't rely on any kind of so-called technical press or professional press. All these, journals, right? They are absolutely worthless. I mean, there is no objective information in any of the media that relates to technology, and this applies to to almost everything that is printed, and it applies to 80% of the stuff that is on the internet. So the main part that created certain drive for us to try to commercialize it, because we have seen that trying to do it in the commercial environment was really, in the academic environment was hard. The competition for grants was enormous, and on top of that, the way the funding for science and for research is set up in the United States is that 95% of funds goes over and over again to the same people, right? So we basically built a company that does real-time communications, and now the question is whether you judge this as a successful project or an endeavor, or if you think that it failed. As far as technical merit, it's absolutely the best product on the market right now, and it's not like we are boasting. We have been, if we have been, or when we have been given a fair chance to compete, we have beaten squarely companies like IBM and Adobe and Microsoft, right? I mean, their products against our product, and they basically stood no chance. I mean, there's still a huge difference. I think we understand the process, we understand how people collaborate, we understand how people work, and dozens of ideas that are essentially ours right now are being peddled by people like IBM and Microsoft, except that it's 10 years later. That's difficult because, first of all, those ideas, they are created very often by interaction in groups of people who are interested in the innovation, right? So sometimes innovation process is being described as a epiphany that one person has, but this is rarely so. I think that we are talking about the cultural attitude. You just get a group of people who support each other and they want to try to do new things, and then they have some sort of funding or enough free time of their hands because somebody else is paying bills or bills are being paid by different type of activity, for instance teaching, and you have a little bit of time to try new things and see how they work. But the most important thing is that you really have to go into the field you think you understand and dig very, very deeply to understand it better, and then you start seeing things that can be, first of all, you can imagine, let's say, human need for some kind of invention, whatever this invention is. And you have to differentiate yourself from the other people. So this epiphany, the moment that you come up with something, is very quickly forgotten and is replaced by the mundane process of building the prototypes and showing them to people and trying to convince them and seeing the complete lack of understanding in their eyes and then not getting discouraged and saying, well, to hell with that, right? I mean, if 10 of the last 12 people I have seen don't seem to even understand. It's not even that they tell you it's bad. The most frequent reaction you get is that they don't say anything, right? You make the demo and you have shown them this technology and they just sit there and it's clear that they would like to be somewhere else and they say thank you very much for your time and they disappear. This is it, right? I mean, complete lack of there's no communication, right? I mean, we talk, but we don't communicate. Right? So that's what we find. I always find very, very difficult, and I have tried many things. When I was trying to do it myself, I have synthesized that, well, perhaps I'm going to have somebody else to make those presentations for me. Usually it was even worse, right, with several exceptions. Society as such is moving backwards, right? I wouldn't believe when I was 20 that we will have this incredibly advanced society with all electronics and yet have people sort of maintain that the earth is flat, because that's what it is, right? So that's one of the main problems with innovation, right? And this country lived on